Wind whispers. He is a fortress of living flesh. The Columbian patriarch stands alone, a monument to a dying age. His tusks are curved scythes that scrape the frost from the earth. He does not yet know that he is being hunted. The steppe is a chessboard, and the pieces are moving. Shadows drift through the golden grass. They are not wolves, but something smaller and far more cruel. They carry the weight of starvation in their hollow bellies. Evolution has forged a predator that needs no claws to kill. Silence amplifies. The beast is a cathedral of bone. He moved with a slow, tectonic rhythm across the tundra. His heart pumped blood through arteries the size of rivers. He is the apex of an evolutionary line that conquered the cold. He carries the genetic memory of ancestors who faced the ice alone. Against the relentless wind, the mammoth trudged onward, an echo of a bygone era. But the rules of engagement changed. The shadows in the grass are not relying on claws today. They are relying on a weapon that does not bleed or tire. The spear thrower, the atlatl, extends the reach of the arm. It acts as a lever, multiplying the force of a desperate man. Heartbeats quicken. They are architects of a kill box. The hunters fan out, communicating with subtle gestures and low whistles. They understand the geometry of the valley better than the herds. They know the mammoth cannot turn quickly in the deep, sucking mud. Intelligence is the ability to predict the future, and they foresee death. The patriarch halts in the grass. His trunk coils inward, sensing a disturbance in the electromagnetic field. A primal anxiety begins to prickle beneath his thick, shaggy coat.
He is being watched by ghosts.
The leader of the humans steps from behind a boulder.
He is small, fragile, and utterly insignificant against the backdrop of ice. But in his hand, he holds the sharp tip of a new era. The confrontation is not between two animals, but between biology and invention. Silence breaks. A stone clatters against a tusk.
It is a distraction, a calculated insult to provoke a reaction.
The mammoth turns his massive head, eyes widening in sudden fury.
He does not see the flankers moving into position on his blind side.
The trap is a tightening noose.
The humans scream, a coordinated wall of sound to induce panic.
They wave furs and strike the earth to mimic a larger force. They need him to run, to surrender his stability for blind momentum. Fear is the only weapon that can make a giant defeat itself.
The ground shakes. The ground shakes.
He charges the source of the noise.
Six tons of muscle accelerate with terrifying, unstoppable kinetic energy.
The earth groans under the impact of his pillar-like legs.
He seeks to crush the annoyance, to flatten the world into silence.
But the target is not there.
The bait hunter vanishes into a crevice, leaving only empty air. The mammoth's momentum carries him forward, past the point of no return. His front legs sink into the hidden softness of the bog's edge. The strongest creature on Earth is betrayed by the ground he walks on.
Mud sucks.
Panic replaces the rage in his eyes.
He thrashes, but the suction of the mire holds him fast.
The more he struggles, the deeper the cold earth pulls him down.
The physics of the trap turn his own immense strength against him.
The circle of hunters now closes. They approach not as predators, but as executioners taking their positions.
They fit the darts into the grooves of their throwing sticks.
Their eyes are wide with the terror of what they must do.
They are risking everything for a prize that will sustain the tribe.
Tension peaks. The first spear flies true.
It arcs through the gray sky, a streak of human will. It finds a gap in the hair, biting into thick skin.
The pain is a shock, sharp and alien to a king. The beast screams a song of war.
It is a sound that vibrates in the chests of the men.
He swings his tusks, a desperate scythe clearing the air before him.
He will not go into the dark without taking a soul.
The tragedy of the scene is that both sides deserve to survive. Blood begins to stain the snow. The hunters reload with trembling hands, adrenaline flooding their systems.
They know they must end this quickly, or be crushed by thrashing limbs.
Every second in the kill zone is a gamble with their lives.
The sun dips below the horizon.
The light turns blood red, matching the violence on the white plain. The mammoth breathes steam, his sides heaving like great bellows.
He looks at the small figures and finally understands what they are. They are the end of his world.
Drums thunder. The sky rains sudden death.
A dozen darts arc simultaneously, driven by the leverage of the throwers.
They strike with the sound of hail hitting a drum skin.
The flint tips shatter against ribs but bury deep into muscle.
It is death by 1,000 cuts, a slow and agonizing erosion.
Roar shakes earth.
He refuses to die quietly. The patriarch pivots on his trapped leg, swinging the ivory scythes. He is blind with pain, striking at the blurring shapes around him. The sheer displacement of air knocks a man off his feet.
A trunk strikes like a whip.
One hunter is too slow, caught in the devastating, muscular arc. He is lifted from the snow and broken against the frozen ground. The sound of snapping bone is lost beneath the trumpet of rage. A life is extinguished to buy a second for the fatal strike.
Chaos reigns!
Blood sprays the white silence. The snow melts where the hot crimson torrent hits the ice. The mammoth's breathing becomes a wet, rattling gasp of drowning fluids.
Pink foam bubbles from the trunk, signaling a pierced lung.
The giant falls to one knee.
The loss of blood slows the tectonic rhythm of his heart.
He looks up at the small, fragile creatures who have undone him. His massive weight becomes a burden he can no longer support.
Gravity, once his servant, now becomes his executioner.
Time slows. The lead hunter steps forward. He holds a heavy thrusting spear, thicker than the throwing darts.
He looks into the dying eye of the god he has felled.
There is no malice in his gaze, only a terrified reverence.
The final spear finds its mark.
It enters the soft tissue behind the ear, severing the connection.
The massive body shudders once, a final earthquake in the valley. The light behind the ancient eyes flickers and finally goes dark. A library of knowledge, written in DNA, burns to the ground.
Wind sighs.
Silence reclaims the White Valley. The steam rising from the carcass is the only movement in the frozen world.
The tribe descends not with triumph, but with a desperate, starving efficiency.
They harvest the warmth before the merciless cold reclaims the prize.
The king is now a resource.
His skin will become the walls of their shelters against the biting wind.
His bones will be carved into the very weapons that will kill his kin.
Every part of his existence is repurposed to fuel the rise of man. The death of the old gods is the necessary fuel for the new.
Time accelerates.
Centuries dissolve into dust. The ice sheets retreat, leaving behind scarred rock and deep, silent lakes. The mammoth herds fade into the twilight, chased by the changing climate and the spear.
The steppe they ruled is now covered in asphalt and steel cities.
Glass cases now hold the Titan. We walk past the polished tusks in the museum, safe and detached.
We see a skeleton and imagine a clumsy, lumbering beast of the past.
But the bones remember the speed, the rage, and the terrible intelligence.
We did not inherit the earth because we were stronger. We inherited it because we were ruthless. Final note. He stands in the dark hall. The shadows of the museum mimic the shadows of the ancient grass. He waits for a challenge that will never come again. He is a monument to a time when the world was wild and vast. He is the silence that screams of what we have lost. This was not merely a hunt.
It was the passing of the torch.
The Columbian Mammoth represented biological perfection, evolution's masterpiece of insulation and strength. But the human hunting party represented the strategic wedge, the ability to bypass biology through tool use and coordination.
The dynasty fell not because it was weak, but because the rules of the game changed, from physical dominance to technological leverage.
Which lost dynasty shall we resurrect next?
The Terror Bird's throne. When the Forathracids ruled South America before the Great American Interchange.
The ocean's assassin. The rise and fall of the megalodon against the agile ancestors of the great white.
The dragon's winter. The last stand of the woolly rhino in the freezing Eurasian steppe.